Chris, why don't you just give us your 3-word summary if you need.
My 3-word summary? Okay, I can do it in 3.
Which was the problem?
Hork-Bajir Chronicles.
No. You just wasted every word. You didn't. Nobody left with a sense.
I think I can probably. All right, I'm gonna one up you.
I got it.
Colonialism is bad.
Okay, Chris? What's yours?
Deep done did it. Did it is 1 word.
Yes, I could hear that. Yeah.
This is actually, I believe, an accurate 3-word summary of every book in the series. Shit gets fucked.
I was thinking sort of the cousin of that. Some shit happens.
In 1996, Scholastic began publishing Animorphs. Over the next 6 years, Catherine Applegate and her husband, Michael Grant, under the pseudonym K.A. Applegate, produced 54 main series books, several spin-offs, and inspired a TV series, graphic novels, and a cult following. We can't tell you where we live. We can't even tell you our last names. But we can tell you our thoughts and feelings on this series, book by book. I'm Miranda.
I'm Eddie.
And I'm Chris.
And we are the Anidorks.
These may be kids' books, but we discuss dark themes and mature content. There may also be some explicit language. Listener discretion is advised.
In high school, I met a synthesizer person who lived in the area.
Like a Vocaloid?
No.
Okay, sorry.
Like a person with a lot of old synthesizers.
Got it. I misunderstood.
And I played guitar, and this person was like, "Join my band," like blah blah blah. And
join my band. Also, a good summary of this book. So
join my band. So, but the name for that band. I did not pick this name. I always loved this name, but it's really funny. It's 3 words separated by periods.
Okay.
Is the name of the band.
That's amazing.
It's really, really, really funny. It's so postmodern. That's so,
great.
It's so...
I wanted to start a Riot Girl band called Duct Tape Condoms.
Nice.
Oh,
very good.
Bad idea.
Similar brain
Great
feel.
Name, though.
Yeah,
bad idea.
Not
great
effective.
Name.
Great name.
Painful?
Yeah. Actually, it might be really effective.
Yeah.
It depends. Duct tape is a very confident barrier in a lot of scenarios.
It also may completely inhibit the act. I don't know.
Yeah.
You may not get very far. You might just tap out.
No, it's the removal. The removal.
Yeah.
That's the point, Eddie. I know we have to talk, but I've been getting fed these mini dramas, ads for mini dramas, which are they do them in little 10-minute sections. Sometimes they'll cut them and put them to music. And the first one I saw was The Alpha Werewolf and His Virgin Bride. That one was unhinged.
Can I Google that?
Sure. It was crazy. I watched a 10-minute ad for it. I watched a 30-minute ad for a series that I discovered was remade twice with different sets of actors. Line for line, damn near. And then I discovered it was just, except that they changed some things around. They changed 2 girls' names, and then they were or they changed all the names, but the story was the same. It was adopted girl is adopted into rich family. They get their original daughter is found, bio daughter is found. She gets pushed aside, and she decides to sign up for a sleep experiment that's gonna probably kill her to further the. And then they all treat her like shit and slap her around a bunch, and then her sister kills her cat. It's really weird.
I feel like I just took some kind of drug and
right?
started talking. I don't really understand what you want me to understand.
We'll go into it later.
No. Also, is that what we read for today?
Was that the assigned reading?
So that's what I took notes on for today.
But can I ask, when I searched The Alpha Werewolf, I didn't get the finished typing. I got before, and I did find The Alpha Werewolf and His Bride, but I also found The Alpha Werewolf. Now, maybe this is saying something about my search history. The Alpha Werewolf and His Good Boy. Tale of the Werewolf Alpha and His Mate. Werewolf Academy, the Alpha and the Luna, Trinity Alpha Werewolf, the Alpha and the Omega Werewolf novel. What is
That one's
Alpha
Christian.
in Werewolf? The Alpha and the Vampire.
The Alpha and his Virgin Bride, or the Alpha King and his Virgin Bride, was very funny because they're like, we've brought you the finest she-wolves from all the packs, born on the full moon of the such month and blah, blah, blah. The son of one of these must be your fated mate. And he's like, take off your robes. And he's like, none of them have the Polaris birthmark.
Oh, well, I'm intrigued. I'm sold on this. I think that if I had incorporated the Polaris birthmark in my book, it would have sold by now.
Yeah, I told you to keep it in.
Yeah.
And you were like, Chris, I can't. I
I'm going to cut the Polaris birthmark.
And I was like, and then I believe I replied, why did you go to writing school? Like, if you're like that, you go to writing school to learn about the Polaris
birthmark. Yeah.
Now, this Polaris birthmark, it's in a visible part of the, like, it's like...
No, lower back, tramp stamp.
I went to
all the way.
writing school. You should know.
That's why they had to take their robes off.
Yeah. Yeah. Should we talk about this book?
Probably.
I think we shall. I think it's time. You ready? I'm gonna touch this little triangle right here.
Now, what I remember is that last time... You can press it, Chris. Last time we talked...
Because you only get 7 minutes for this.
As I remember, Aldrea was about to take a family photo. She was taking a picture.
Yeah,
that's
everything
right.
was lined up perfectly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And you have to remember, photos in the future take a lot longer because you have to get the camera positioned. There's no, and you have to light.
Can't move.
You have to light the flash.
Right.
You can't move.
The distant future of 1968.
Oh, for 5 minutes.
Yes. Right, exactly. Right, it's 1968. It's in the past. Photos were a lot more complicated in 1968. Wow, we should be talking about this book like it happened in 1968.
And I believe it's
like
chapter 11?
Yeah, it's you.
Esplin. No.
Yeah.
Yes?
No.
Oh.
Just looking up events that, oh no. So Esplin just got done at the Tet Offensive.
I was really expecting to jump in with. I was expecting to.
Wait a sec. Hold on. That actually gives some context.
Okay, we are on a
here.
timer, so.
All right, keep going. All right, start. Go.
Chapter 11. Esplin has spent 2 days in the body of a Hork-Bajir when he and the Yeerks arrive at the Hork-Bajir planet. Their plan is to infest the Hork-Bajir people and turn them into their most powerful soldiers. But there's one little hiccup in this plan. Another Yeerk, Karger 7901, reports to Esplin that they've intercepted an outgoing message from a small outpost of Andalites already on the Hork-Bajir planet. Karger says that they'll have to kill those Andalites before word of the Yeerks' arrival here gets back to the Andalite homeworld. There's only 4 Andalites down there anyway. It shouldn't be a problem. Esplin is a little intimidated. From his studies of Andalites, he knows how powerful they can be, how advanced their technology is. But he also knows Karger, an especially ambitious, violent Yeerk who has already self-proclaimed himself a subvisor in the new Yeerk hierarchy of visors and subvisors. Esplin can't let him run away with power like that. Esplin and Karger, aboard an Andalite spacecraft equipped with cloaking technology, swoop down onto the Hork-Bajir planet. Strange. As they approach the Andalite encampment, Esplin sees only 3 Andalites. Andalites never take shelter unless they must. Esplin insists they wait until the 4th appears, but Karger overrides Esplin. He orders that they take fire on the 3 Andalites. 1 adult at a computer, 1 adult staring into darkness, and a little one playing a game.
I heard Esplin and Karger abort an Andalite spacecraft. That's why I laughed. I'm sorry.
This chapter is really great, actually. This is like, especially with the cliffhanger that we experienced last week.
Yeah.
Like it just ramps up, and then you get this cold, detached sort of like entry point. And it kind of reminds me of the start of Gundam. Like the very first Gundam, you're following some Zaku's in, and they're like supposed to be doing a reconnaissance mission, but then they get all like bravado and they're like, we should blow this place up just for fun.
Yeah.
And they do. And even though they are at war, but it's like war crime style. They're like, we're just going to like do this. And that's why Amuro ends up getting in the Gundam at all, which is about to happen here. Dak Hamee being help me out.
Dak Hamee.
Thank you. Dak Hamee, Dakayu.
Doc Holliday.
Doc Holliday, that he is the Amuro of this series. And the point is, I've lost my point. Oh, yes. So he's standing on the ship, exploring the Andalite thing, exploring his new Andalite body, looking around, being like, da-da-da. And he's talking about
Hork-Bajir body.
Yes. He's talking about his Hork-Bajir body on the Andalite ship. And he's talking about how, like, I don't know, there's a moment where he's, like, looking at the grass. I'm jumping around a lot here. But there's a moment where he's looking at the grass that they would eat to stay alive on the ship. And it's like, he's talking about how, like, the grass has died out because it's not a sustainable, it's not, like, and he's talking about how he found plans for these dome ships that, like, are, like, biospheres where they can stay in space way longer. But something about the image of him looking down and seeing, like, the armature of the, like, he can see through the dying grass and just see the metal mesh under, like,
that they planted it
underneath
on.
it. Yeah, exactly. And there's just something, like, there's something cool that speaks to sort of the like shallowness of the facade of the Andalite values.
Oh.
Like, especially when he is essentially drawing himself in such strong parallel to the Andalites. Because I think, like, he's about to start talking about confinement and about, like, how he's going to return to being trapped when he loses his Hork-Bajir controller at some point coming up. And you just start to hear a lot of similarities in what his ambitions, like what he views the Andalites as having. He paints a picture of how they're similar in a
I like this idea of the thin veneer of the Andalites, where it's like they covered their ship in grass, not grippy tile, as we had earlier suspected.
Yeah, and we recommend...
We had that
grippy
confirmed,
tile.
actually, in one of them. I think in Andalite Chronicles, that they do.
Yeah.
But that's on the dome ship.
Somewhere. But I guess this older ship had this grass. But the idea that it's all just built on the cold metal, but they also don't like this type of confinement. So, like, it also goes to show that, like, the confinement is what they fear it is. You know what I mean? They'd rather be on the ground, and they can't really mimic that in space. But I do like it as, like, this lush, verdant good that the Andalites are all dies away in just a matter of 2 years if not properly supported.
Yeah. They also said your thing, Miranda, where, like, they were talking about them hovering above them in the ship, getting ready to kill them, and it's like, you fools, if you'd only look up.
Yes, gamers never look up.
Gamers never look up. Like, it's
I have some, like, concerns and questions about the ship, where it's like, why were these plans stored on the central computer of the ship? Why was so much information about Andalites stored on this transport ship? But that's not really a big, I don't know. It doesn't really matter. My bigger thing is, why were Seerow's transmissions not disguised in any way? Like, I know they didn't think this job was important, but they're like, not only did they pick up on it, it was unencrypted.
It's not encrypted. Yeah, their OPSEC is like, it's like non-existent.
It's ridiculous. And only other major thing that happens to me in this chapter, second use of cavorting by Esplin. He says it about the Yeerks in the Yeerk pool earlier, which we didn't really highlight. You know, we said, we've seen this before. You know, it's a one-off. It's not a big deal. But here, the young Andalite...
We don't have to worry about this, is what we thought. And yet here we are.
Yeah, it does raise a question of whether the Yeerks are dandy-coded or just Visser 3. Because
it's just his perception.
I think it's just Visser 3. And
wait, what if it's just the Esplin tank? What if it's the hometown?
It's the twins.
Yeah, it's just those twins. There's something special about him.
Something special about it. I mean, I really think it's just Esplin because he gets called out at some point later on. We'll get to it. But like, is it in this chapter that he gets called out? where Karger is
they call him an Andalite lover.
Yes, which I want to talk
in this
about.
chapter. Yeah.
I want to talk about the Andalite. The fact
I'm so glad you gave us so much time for this chapter then.
I know. I thought last time 15 minutes was too much. Now it's 7 minutes. It's not enough.
Jokes aside, I really appreciate you doing the timing.
Yes, I do too.
I looked at it and I went, Chris and Miranda, if I look at it with their eyes, nothing to talk about here. So.
Also, Chris hadn't put their notes in yet.
Chris and Miranda, very dull.
Very dull.
Very dull. Don't want to talk
They're
about
like,
things.
that stick carving, that burnt carving you've done, that's not me.
Yeah. Well, tell me, is there a more happy medium between 15 minutes and 7 minutes? I don't know where we would go in between. So
when we finish this series and we stop doing Animorphs, when we finish all the books and we start doing Revolutionary Girl Utena content,
as we must,
we know that each scene will take roughly 45 minutes.
It's true.
Wait, so you're leaving no time to talk about the individual shots?
You're right. You're absolutely right. We should pause on every frame. Yeah.
And they name it a podcast.
What does the stopwatch mean?
What does it mean?
Anyway, Eddie, you were saying?
Yeah. I think that it's one, we know there's something to that, right? Like, we know that there's something to, like, Esplin has this weird obsession with, he does have a little bit of an obsession with Andalites. It's a little bit,
Yeah.
It's a little bit.
We were all there.
What he wants to be.
True. He does think
also,
they'll be a good morph.
But there's also this, like, attraction there, I think. I think that...
Yes. Yeah. I think there's that, like, do I want to get with? Do I want to be kind of vibe going on here?
Do I want to be and then get with? You know, it's
or
a very...
be with, get, then get with, be with the one you get with.
There's also... He also calls out Karger as being ambitious, which I think is very funny for him, but he also he thinks he's clumsy about it. I think that's really what he's calling to attention here, is that he's like, all ambition, no music, style,
no songs, right? Yeah,
and that he'll make mistakes because of his ambition. Whereas Visser 3 is like, Esplin 9466 is like, I will not make mistakes. I will not get messy. I'm not on the Magic School Bus.
Yeah.
That was a good reference. Should have gotten more. You should have gotten more for that, but unfortunately, we don't have the budget for a live studio audience like the I Love Lucy show on that episode where they can't keep the chocolates from going
just
by.
Shoving them in their mouth.
Just shoving them in their mouths.
Last little note is just, isn't Esplin kind of similar to Karger?
Yeah, totally.
But so is that why he's
except less of an idiot?
Yeah. It's. I think doth protest too much.
Yeah.
There's something.
He's seeing his own ambition reflected back, but with a stupider face, and he's like, "God, I hate that guy."
Definitely.
I just never thought we'd see the day where Visser 3 accused someone else of being too violent. So,
Yeah. I do have to say there's one part of this chapter that I really, 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 really latched onto, and I'll keep this under a minute. They're talking about how they're about to create these new, like, Visser, sub-Visser feel. Like, they're creating these new parts of the hierarchy under the Council of 13. And he's pissed because Karger is, like, just gave himself the title of sub-Visser and nobody seems to be questioning it. And he's like, damn, I should have done that. And I'm like... We should give ourselves promotions
all the
on
time.
The show. All the time. Like, yeah, there will be title inflation, but Eddie, you're the president of descriptions. Like, that is true. Miranda, you're the director of cutting out my curse words. Like,
I've never cut out a curse word.
That's true. Sometimes I hear you double them. I'll hear
double
the same
track it just for the curse word.
I'll hear
fuck
the same
shit
fuck from like earlier in the thing, cut and taken to like
it's a fuck shit stat. A fuck shit stat.
Yeah.
Oh my god, a fuck shit.
I don't know if we can make that an episode title. Fuck shit.
No, we can't.
It's too, yeah, unfortunately.
God, who was that? Remind me.
Oh, I'm blanking.
Oh, I don't even know.
I can't.
Oh, it's Lucille Ball.
It's Lucille Ball.
It's Reggie Watts. It's Reggie Watts.
The Lucille Ball of improv.
And some fuck and some shit.
And some
get
shit.
a fuck.
Lucille Ball was the Lucille Ball of improv.
It is. No, but I think Reggie Watts, that might be the highest praise I could give him. He is the Lucille Ball of, no, I'm just.
Anyway.
Next chapter.
Next
Chapter
chapter.
12.
Who's
It's
reading?
you.
Is you.
Oh, shit my ass.
It's a light one. It's a light
You
one.
always give me the light ones because you know I can't read. Aldrea watches from the darkness as her family is annihilated by the Yeerks. The scoop exploded. This is quoted. This is from the text. The scoop exploded. The air pockets in the construction material superheated in a microsecond. It exploded. The moisture in the ground and the grass and the soil turned to steam in half the blink of an eye and exploded. Everything that could burn, burned. And everything can burn in the heat of a shredder at full power. Everything. Aldrea can't stop screaming. Dak Hamee tries to grab her. Aldrea swings her tail blade at him without thinking, slicing off half of Dak's wrist blade. The shredder fire stops. Dak tells Aldrea she must flee. Whoever did this will want to make sure they finish the job. They will find her if she does not leave. What does Aldrea have to live for now? Dak takes her head gently between his hands so that she is facing him. As you said, Aldrea, this is why I was born a seer. To save my people from the Yeerks, who have done this evil thing. But I cannot do it alone. You must help me. Help? I sobbed. Help what? Help me to understand. To understand this evil, Dak said. Will you help me understand this evil? This evil. To understand it, will you help? Not you, but someone other than you. In direct opposition, me. Aldrea won't help Dak understand anything she says, but she will help him kill the Yeerks. Kill them all, she screams. Kill them all!
Kill them all. She says it a lot of times.
Hey, sexy
killed them
mama,
all, of
wanna
course.
kill all Yeerks?
Are we asking Aldrea to do too much as a adolescent immediately following?
Yeah, she
the
is
murder?
still pretty young. I guess that's fair. But her immediate shift from like, I am your teacher to, no, I'm not going to teach you anything about them except how to fucking kill them.
Yeah.
Is like, and this is like the beginnings of like a big shift in their relationship. And like, we see that Dak can see through that he's being used here and in the future chapters, and she doesn't care. And he still needs her. And she still needs him. And it's like really inverted them because she didn't need him before. He,
If
like,
I
she,
needed you.
you know, like he needed her and she was using him for what she thought was like A, friendship, and B, her dad's stupid mission. But like, she really needs him now. And she's not treating him much better than she's ever treated him. I'll just put it that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do have to say, there's one part of this sequence that is really inspiring, which is like, imagine you're Barfin or Barafin.
Barafin.
Yep.
How do you say it?
Barafin. Like the wax. But voiced.
Barfin. But imagine you're Barafin and you're playing a sick game of League and you're getting right to the end where you're about to and then you just explode instantaneously.
Yeah.
Like if I could die like I'm going to bed, I'm playing piano before bed, which I do every night, and I'm standing there playing piano because I play standing up because I'm in an ABBA cover band and you have to practice standing up.
You do. It's very different than sitting.
It's really hard to play standing up. And so I'm standing there and then a meteor just takes me out and Peterson has to pay for the hole in the roof and not me. That's great.
Yeah.
It's like Donnie Darko. He died doing what he loved. Sleeping.
Died doing what he loved.
Sleeping.
Sleep.
What every teenager loves.
On a more serious note, this is a truly horrendous
I
thing.
was being 100% serious.
This is a truly horrendous thing that Aldrea.
Yes, her entire family
Are you
was
saying
just
it's no laughing matter?
was just
I'm not saying
exploded
that
in front of her face.
Because yes, her family was exploded in front of her face, Chris.
Here's the thing I'll say, though. Her family was a family of clowns, and wouldn't they want us to appreciate their art through laughter at the memorial?
I do know I did go to a memorial
Clown funeral?
of someone who was buried with their copy of Halo 2. And it
Beautiful.
was like, it did make me smile. I was like,
yeah, I love
Barrett-
it.
he actually would have loved that.
Yeah. I would, come on. Yeah.
Barafin would have loved
Yeah.
it.
That's cute
love
as hell. I love that. Yeah.
I do have a quick question. This is the extent of Barafin, Seerow, and unnamed Andalite woman in this book, right?
True, they die.
Who?
Seerow.
Wait, who? Sorry, I know those first two, but that third one, what are you?
Aldrea's
who
mother.
is that?
Does that right?
Oh, yeah, you mean, yes, yeah. Carissa. Yeah. Carissa.
Deanna Troy.
Yeah. She's named.
She's not named.
She is named.
You cannot gaslight us.
I just named her.
I just named her. In this moment.
Did you say Chris?
Anyway, Eddie, please go on.
Carissa.
Harissa, like the condiment?
Carissa.
Oh, okay. Carissa explains it all? You're just taking the L out?
But I don't know why we get Barafin's name, but not. I don't know what we got more from Barafin. Is it just having like a younger sibling? Like, is that why?
I think that's it.
But then like it could just be my brother. But then I guess because it's kid centered, like because the series as a whole is kid centered, I guess it makes more sense. It would feel worse to kill an unnamed kid than to kill an unnamed adult.
It might be that like the dad is like military, so it's thought of as okay. The mom is not military, so it's thought of as brutal, like on the order of like Bambi. To like
they don't want you to get
killing
too
the
close.
mother.
But the funny thing is, we will hear more about her mom and that they had a close relationship.
I know,
and we
but
won't hear that about Barafin.
And I guess
I know.
it's a little bit more acceptable too to say my mother.
There's not much to say.
If your dad's Seerow, you're gonna say Seerow, but your mom, you would say
Right,
my
because
mom.
he's known. Yeah.
Next chapter.
All right, chapter 13?
Done.
Dak shakes, his face still burning from the intense heat of the shredder fire. Aldrea has taught him so much, but she shared nothing of war, of weapons, of Yeerks. He knows of the monsters who live in Father Deep, yes, but those monsters do not fly spacecraft. Those monsters do not attack invisibly from the sky. Dak knows this. When a monster attacks, a Hork-Bajir must run away. He knows that he must live to tell the elders of what he has seen. He would like to believe that his people would listen to him, and then that would be the end of his role, that the elders would decide for their people what to do next. But he is a seer. Dak knows that he will be asked to lead. I'm not ready, he says out loud to Aldrea. Two Hork-Bajir approach them. Dak tells his brothers not to fear, but the Hork-Bajir say that they're not afraid, before one of them steps forward and slashes Dak across the chest. Dak bleeds, feels pain. He asks why the other Hork-Bajir did that. The other Hork-Bajir continues to slice at him, gashing the side of Dak's face. The two Hork-Bajir realize that Aldrea is the threat, not Dak, and begin to attack her instead. Aldrea fights back while Dak sorts through his confusion. Blades are for cutting bark, not other Hork-Bajir. And yet, these Hork-Bajir are attacking his friend Aldrea. Dak attacks one of the Hork-Bajir. A Dak attack, if you will, slicing through his spine.
A pretty big Dak attack, if you will.
Yeah, the other one flees. Two armed Ged arrive. Aldrea addresses the wounded Hork-Bajir. The Andalites will see you all dead, she tells them. The daughter of Seerow will show you the other side of the Andalite character. Then Aldrea and Dak flee.
See, and that's the steel mesh beneath the grass.
Right?
That's
the grass is Seerow's kindness.
You can't
see me, and the mesh is Aldrea's fucking tail blade at your throat.
Also known as Seerow's unkindness. I see it now.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. We will find that she didn't realize that conflict, like, literally didn't exist for the Hork-Bajir, but the idea that she would leave out such a crucial, like, the fact that they were here to protect them from the Yeerks, that's ostensibly their mission. And she was like, I'm not going to tell him about the Yeerks or that there's a war or anything like that. And like, maybe she was just trying to ease him into it, but I feel like there should be a warning, like, hey,
weren't there 2
you
months
guys are all happy. You're all happy and peaceful here in this, in the great, great valley you can come home to.
What's clear is she didn't share anything about her dad.
About herself.
Or,
yeah.
like
she may have shared her own things about herself personally, but not about Andalite culture, and maybe Seerow's kindness, like, the rule was not officially in effect, but maybe she was already starting to follow that rule where, like, she can teach them that
shame.
they're...
Right.
Shame.
Well, no,
do you think...
No, but, like, the shame of oversharing.
Right, and she's like, I can teach him that there are other planets, but I'm not going to teach him about our conflicts because they might just end up involved, because that's what fucking happened with the Yeerks, but I don't know.
Do you think that one night Dak came over to dinner at the Andalite household and
Morphed as Jake.
Yeah. There was, bread. They had all their food at the table, as the Andalites do, And Dak tried to reach for a roll across the table, and Seerow went, no, I'll pass it to you. And Dak said, that's your dad, Aldrea. Seerow, he's known for his kind. And then she just cut him off and was like, no! Never say that! Kindness!
Never say that!
So I think what actually more likely happened is that he reached across the table to grab a dinner roll, but neglected his elbow blade and accidentally carved the turkey before Seerow could do it. Yeah,
see, I thought you were
going to,
for some reason, I thought you were lining up for a, can you pass that to daddy joke? And
whoa.
She goes to bed. But
I was at a potluck where somebody cracked a daddy joke, and I went and yes-anded, and I said daddy, and basically the whole room was like, Chris, I don't want to ever hear you say daddy again.
Amazing.
And I was like, that's not
See, Chris,
nice.
when I do that, everyone's like, Eddie, say it again. Say daddy again. Do you think Seerow is daddy, or is he papa? Or is he...
Stop it.
Papa.
Get out of here.
Papa.
He's Papa.
How about Pops?
Yeah.
Pops? Pops Seerow?
Nah, he's not a Pops.
Blue Ribbon, let's go.
All right.
So, there's one more thing I wanted to add. There was a moment where Dak made the decision to step in, and he talks about what he's feeling there. Did you guys talk about this? And I just zoned out.
We didn't, and I have a note. I have a note about it, about him contemplating that his pieces could be used for violence is the most heartbreaking thing.
But what's really interesting to me is in the first assessment of that, he doesn't even talk about violence directly. He says something happened then. It was as if I had been given the power to look right into the heart of Father Deep. I could feel a terrible knowledge, a terrible understanding. I could feel power. Is that from this chapter? Did I get that right?
I believe you are correct. Yeah, hang on.
And it's a wild thing in the middle of him making the decision.
He's staring. He says it's as if he was seeing himself for the first time, staring at his wrist blades, and it's sort of
he
to me.
He sees himself as a weapon. Right.
Yeah. The first time he ever sees it.
But also, just that, specifically the use of the word power feels relevant here because, it's something that the Yeerks crave. They see the Andalites as having, and they fetishize the Andalites for that. And then now we see Dak Hamee getting his entry point into this reality.
True.
Into this way of thinking about it.
The only other thing I would note real quick is the Hork-Bajir that he paralyzed Hork-Bajir controller that he paralyzed was Esplin 9466, and Karger is the one running away, which we learn when he yells out, "Karger, you coward," which leads us to assume that it's Esplin 9466, which we will get confirmed later, but...
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. And it's a growing experience for him when he gets his spine severed.
It is.
Yeah.
It's a humbling, and it's important. You learn to win by learning to lose.
Imagine how bad Visser 3 would be later if he hadn't had his spine severed.
Right?
Yeah. Also, just that I kind of feel like we get Aldrea going on a Kill Bill-esque revenge fantasy narrative. I don't know if she
this
really...
is the start of an arc for her.
Fulfills that, but she definitely sets out on one.
Oh, for the next couple chapters, she's so irate.
Yeah.
It's bizarre.
Well, also she did have her
makes
family.
sense.
Yeah. She did have her.
It does make sense, but it feels strange reading because we've not known her to be. We know that she wanted to be a soldier, but we've not known her to be like this.
The Rachelification of Aldrea is palpable.
Yeah,
in the next few
there
chapters.
was.
Have you watched Evangelion yet?
No, I haven't.
You gotta.
I do have to.
Yeah. What do we say? What are we calling her mom? Krista? Is that what you said, Chris?
Carissa.
Carissa.
Here's a mnemonic Miranda came up with. Carissa explains it all.
Explains because she's inflicting pain?
No, because there's
Clarissa
explains it all, but
so
Carissa explains it all.
Okay. You know what? I'm sold.
It makes perfect sense, really. Anyway, Eddie, you want to get on with chapter 14?
I do. I want nothing more. Chapter 14. My family was dead, Aldrea narrates. That's how she says it in the book. I was the only Andalite within many millions of miles. I had no way of communicating with my people. The Yeerks had come to the Hork-Bajir world, and only Dak and I knew. She tells us that she knew the Hork-Bajir were peaceful, but not that they had no concept of fighting at all. They were walking weapons. They just didn't know it. They were the perfect target for the Yeerks. As Aldrea and Dak flee, Dak asks to learn all that he can about the Yeerks. So Aldrea teaches him about how the Yeerks are parasites, about their Yeerk pools, about how they infested the Geds first, and then how Seerow made contact with the Yeerks. Sorry, every time I say Geds, it feels like it should just be Ged. That should be the plural. Her father...
Like the plural, yeah, I feel that.
Yeah. Her father, Aldrea explains, he studied the Yeerks. Dak asks if that's why she and her family were here on the Hork-Bajir planet to study them. Yes, Aldrea answers, but it's not the same, she explains. The Andalites knew the Yeerks to be highly... Aldrea stops herself from finishing that thought. Intelligent, Dak says. This is why Aldrea's parents had no real interest in the Hork-Bajir, Dak says. We're a stupid species, he says. Aldrea notes that he sounds bitter when he says this, but not with the Andalites, with his own people, the Hork-Bajir. Aldrea points out that the Yeerks tricked her father. He thought they would be grateful for the knowledge that the Andalites shared, content with what they were given. Dak says that the Yeerks were content until they learned all they did not have. Then the Yeerks wanted to be like the Andalites. Aldrea wonders if Dak can imagine the Yeerk perspective so easily because he feels the same way. Aldrea believes Dak is jealous of Andalite power. Dak says that his people will be unable to stop the Yeerks. Aldrea asks if maybe this is why Dak is a seer. What if the new way he is supposed to show his people is fighting, is killing Yeerks? Dak had hoped that he could teach his people all the things that Seerow had tried to teach the Yeerks, about art and tools, music and writing. But instead, Dak is faced with an impossible choice. Either they will learn to fight and hurt and kill, or they will learn to be slaves. Both will destroy them. Killers or slaves. They will be one or the other. Killers or slaves. That's a quote from the book. Aldrea grabs Dak's arm, moving her fingers down to the blade at his elbow. She notes that Dak's blade is almost as hard as an Andalite male's tail blade, and just as sharp, she adds. The choice between being a killer and being a slave is an easy one, she says. She points out that Dak already made this choice for himself, just now when he struck down that Hork-Bajir. Dak asks if this is what Aldrea wants for him, to be a killer. She says yes, if that's what is necessary. He removes her hand from his elbow blade. There is much I still have to learn about the Andalites, Dak says. Aldrea can't look at Dak at this moment. She narrates, it is hard seeing disappointment in the eyes of someone you care for. And yet, his contempt for me changed nothing. He had no choice. His people had no choice. Would I help them make a race of killers in order to stop the Yeerks? Yes, 1,000 times over. Yes. Suddenly, Aldrea and Dak are being fired at again. The Geds have caught up to them. Dak says there's only one place for the two of them to escape. They'll have to enter the blue mists of Father Deep.
I'm so mad, dude. I'm so mad. Like the Andalites are getting owned for their snobbery in this moment, and they're not even here to fucking see it, and it pisses me off. If they hadn't written off the Hork-Bajir as unintelligent, they could have befriended and used them. I hate to say it that way, but they literally could have made them a player in this fight instead of them being corrupted by the Yeerks. And also just if they hadn't assumed that every intelligent species was good, which I guess was just Seerow, but again, I failed to see how he could have made all those decisions on his own. Then it's intelligent must be good. And so they help them. And her judging him for not judging him, but being he understands because he also covets our power when he's literally just trying to explain a viewpoint to her that she can't wrap her head around, that if you show people that they're not living as well as you are, they're going to want to live better. Like, and if you just stand there and like maintain that status quo, you're pushing them down. Like, I don't know. I'm just mad.
Yeah, and I just also feel like the Andalites clearly approach all of these relationships like the condescension is built into the whole dynamic. Like they are creating the situation the moment they start to interact with the Yeerks. It seems like we see that even in that. I mean, we see it through how Seerow is as a person, as an Andalite, like the way that he views the world. And it's a really good point that somehow Seerow seems to have total control of that entire dynamic and no one else was collaborating with him on it. No one else was giving approval. Like, it just seems like somehow he has the entire say on what happens with that whole operation. But also, I don't know that the Andalites would ever have been able to take the Hork-Bajir seriously because their criteria would totally ignore the Hork-Bajir. I mean, I kind of feel like they would always ignore the Hork-Bajir just like Seerow and Aldrea's mother are doing. Like, I think that they would never even register for them as someone to take seriously or to have an interest in. Yeah. Even though there is clearly a kind of intelligence there, it's just not the intelligence that they notice with the Yeerks, right? Like,
exactly.
Yeah.
They're not understanding, like, what it means to be a people, like what it means to have a cultural or a natural intelligence that they can't convey in an abstract way. Like they have a lot of information that they know.
Yeah.
Obviously. And they seem to have rich cultural traditions based on what we're learning from Dak Hamee in the future. Mm-hmm. So like they're just not what they're used to seeing, and so they completely write them off.
Yeah, and they don't see the intelligence even. It's interesting that moment where they take it just as a speech sample, but Dak is explaining how they choose what to eat, harvest and what not of the trees. Like that one tree, I forget what it's called. But even that is a display. And Dak's not probably in a place, he's probably not in a place to be able to make this point or defend this, but they have music. What is this? What is it? The speaking tree? Is that right?
The speaking tree.
If not music,
is that an album
they
tree?
talk about it as music. Like Aldrea describes the notes of the sad song that is played by it. Like,
it's true. And she says it's almost like a form of music, but she's saying, I think her argument is that it's not music because it's using notes to convey exact words, which makes it like more like a language. But honestly, that's kind of what music is.
Like, yeah.
And also, that is a tool.
No, it's not music. It's like Morse code. It's not that cool. Right. And I'm like, it's pretty cool.
It's pretty cool, dude.
Yeah. So there's just like, it's actually just like a total, they don't see that their assumption that the world, I mean, and it's not like this has never happened before, but they don't see that their assumption that the world works a certain way is also creating a blind spot for them. Like they can't conceive of civilization developing any other way than the way that they've developed.
And you would think they would have learned this from the Seerow incident, but instead all they learned is that being kind and sharing information is bad and not underestimating a group of people is bad.
Yeah, and I wonder, I know we get a very certain perspective from Seerow, but the Andalites also, I feel like Seerow's kind of fucked no matter which way he goes after that incident, and it doesn't sound like they've made any changes after what happened with Seerow. By blaming everything on him, the Andalites themselves cannot change or adjust to the mistakes that they made there. And
they pushed everything on. It's what we've seen them do before with Axe and having Axe take over the responsibility because they didn't want to put it on Alfangor. It's like that in reverse, where they want there to be a singular thing they can blame on a mistake, as opposed to being like there's a systemic issue of misunderstanding or lack of planning or anything like that.
Yeah. It does make you feel like that Andalite pride, and I feel like that's what the series calls it many times, that feels like it's going to be something that only gets bigger as we go through the series, right? Like is that what you think?
I think the shadow of it is going to get bigger, but I think we're already seeing Axe deconstructed.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to get bigger and smaller
It's
at the
also,
same
like,
time. It's like hard to
also-
say bigger, but
Yeah.
like when the Andalites finally arrive, they're going to have all of that baggage with them, and Axe is going to have unpacked a lot of that shit. And I'm really interested to see how they're going to interact.
Well, that'll be an interesting thing that I hadn't even thought of reading the book is what does the Andalite response to this incident tell us about how the Andalites will respond to whenever they arrive to Earth, which is, that's just really interesting.
yeah, because we
it's
never.
kind of an open question.
You have a question?
No.
Oh.
It's kind of an open question. I don't think we have a lot of evidence.
No,
yet
and I
that
also
we would.
think it's really interesting to get this perspective. And I know we talked about at the very beginning, like it's interesting to look deeper into something we've gotten as sort of a footnote. It's like, oh, the quantum virus, oh, this. But they never get. It's like, I was like, is there a way to not say this in a spoilery way? And I think it's fair to just spoil and say
We're the
they
ones
never
who
get.
never read this story.
They never get Aldrea's perspective on what happened here.
The Andalites,
So
you mean?
the Andalites are just writing their own version of what happened here, completely absent the actual the cooperation
see what you're saying.
between
I see what you're
Hork-Bajir
saying.
and Andalites. They're completely
that's
writing that off.
exactly right. Yeah. This is like an account passed down from the two of them.
Yeah.
Like we actually know the lineage of this narration for the first time in a series here. We actually
Yes,
know
you're right.
like,
Yeah.
where-
Yeah.
And given that we just
Well, we don't know, I guess, that Tobias gave it to
True.
us then.
Given that we just heard in book 19 that the Andalites still believe that races maybe can't work together, species maybe can't work together that well, that would signal to me that the Andalites didn't come away from this really talking about the fact that they cooperated with a group of Hork-Bajir at all.
Yeah, it actually fed the isolationism.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you mean book 18 when they went to Atlantis?
Was that 18? Sorry.
I don't think we read 19 yet.
No.
You're
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
Book 18 when they go underwater and then on the Lyran planet and everything.
Thank you, Lyran. Yes. Yeah.
And they're like, oh, did you say it when they go to Atlantis?
And that's how we went to an underwater city. So,
That's the vibe. I actually kind of agree.
It was the city of worms, I'll have you know.
oh, yeah, it was a much more From Software name. Yeah.
I didn't see a single poison swamp.
That's a good point. Yes. Yeah. That's the entire Yeerk
Miyazaki
planet.
can't have made it. All right.
There's like so much to hit in this chapter. I feel like let's like keep going and maybe some notes that like notes as a metaphor will ring out from the Narwhal tree.
Yeah.
Did I get that right? Is
And
it
also-
a Narwhal or a Narwhal?
I think it's a
Is it
Narwhal.
Narwhal?
Narwhal tree,
I
yeah.
think it's a Narwhal tree. Narwhal tree?
Papu fruit?
Papu fruit? I was talking to somebody and I said Kairi Pamu instead of
Kari Pamu. Kyrie Paupu is the funniest.
No, but I guess
Mistake.
so. I said it. I also said it wrong, and then I doubled the wrong thing because
Oh, man.
isn't it Kyrie? Or
It's Kyari Pamu.
Kyrie. Pamu,
What are we talking
Pamu.
But
about?
you said she's
J-pop.
a J-pop singer, and Chris is saying they sort of accidentally said Kyrie Paupu instead of saying Kyari Pamu.
Kyrie Papu.
Papu.
Anyway, all right,
My
here we go.
Papu.
Chapter 15.
Papu.
Aldrea and Dak flee downhill into the valley. Her legs burn from the difficult terrain, yet her legs are on fire. Yet she has no time to morph into a Chadu. Wow, you're really stringing the thoughts together here.
It's true.
Yeah, but it's true. But it's like
That's how she has the thought. She's like, I wish I could be a Chadu because my
I
muscles
know.
hurt, but I don't have time.
But something about yet, like it has such a logical follow through that it's like, yes, of course I would turn it- Ergo. If and only
QED.
if I could turn into it. Yeah, exactly. The guests
Chris,
are
thanks for
coming.
volunteering to write the summaries for next episode. Thank you so much.
No, I thought it was.
No, I'm just kidding.
You're right. I think your summaries are shit,
Yeah.
and I think you need to work
Thank
on
you.
it. I think what I found so funny about it is that's kind of how I read it too. Like you isolated the truth.
Yeah.
It's true. You got right down to it.
But it sounds pretty funny to hear it laid bare like that. Laid bare? I forget.
Laid bare.
Anyway, the Gets are coming. She can hear them calling for reinforcements. Luckily, the terrain of this new planet is difficult for the Yeerks as well. Sight is new for the Yeerks too, those frickin' idiots. The Andalites probably would have killed their targets by now. Aldrea and Dak run into other Hork-Bajir. The Yeerks begin to fire at them as well. They cannot return to the Hork-Bajir right now, or else they put more of them in danger. Dak and Aldrea run further and farther and further down the valley until, finally, farther, they reach the farther blue mists of Father Deep. Aldrea enters into the mist.
Really, she plunges?
She does. I talked about this.
I take issue because it says I plunged into the mist. She does not. We learn.
No, to be clear, it says I plunged into Father Deep.
Yeah. As we all have.
She shouted, "Cannonball!" She jumped up and tucked in her hooves.
So when I read this and I plunged into Father Deep, I thought that, yes, she jumped off a cliff into Father Deep. She jumped into the mist. But when you read the next chapter, they just sort of progress into Father Deep, which is different.
Yeah, but they're going down. They're going down. So like they're always at a steep angle. So like I get it. But also you can plunge into any membrane, if you will.
Here's the thing.
You can plunge horizontally with a knife.
I think Miranda's right. And I think like if we're putting a fine tip on it, it's like
as one does for plunging.
It's hard. Right. It's hard to nail down peg, if you will, Father Deep. And I think that's the challenge.
I think the lesson of this book is that it seems hard to peg Father Deep, but it's actually quite easy once you give it a shot. So
once you do it, they tell you it's going to be difficult, but once everybody relaxes and accepts what's going on and takes a deep breath,
you wonder why you waited so long to try.
Right.
In fact, everyone has pegged Father Deep, so
I will say
we're actually all constantly pegging Father Deep.
I know
in a perpetual state of pegging Father Deep.
I know I always bring up the sex and gender stuff, and I know we're joking around, but genuinely,
we're not joking.
Genuinely, the juxtaposition of plunge and then the fact that it's Father Deep, and even just the fact that it's Father Deep representing this like cradle of life and this like deep gash like opening that houses life. I think that's a really interesting thing. And especially when we're dealing with a female character who breaks gender norms. And I don't know if that was like, I don't want to say, obviously that was intentional and she knew exactly what she was doing when she wrote this. But it feels loaded even if it wasn't intentional. Like for it to come out on the page, something had to be going on internally, whether it was completely like directly intentional to make that gendered, to use that gendered language or not. And
totally, I think that's where the joke comes from.
It absolutely is.
It comes from the truth of
that
like,
thread.
That
thread was already in the series because who would be more likely to plunge into Father Deep in the main series books other than Rachel?
Rachel, absolutely.
It's true.
Is she plunging into Father Deep every time she morphs into that grizzly bear?
There's been a lot of good titles this episode already. I'm really excited to see what wins out. But I do want to say the one thing that makes me happiest about this book over Megamorphs is thank God the fucking blue mist paid off. If they kept talking about the blue mist all fucking book, and then it's like, no, it's just a volcano.
And not only that, they get to the blue mist roughly halfway through the book.
That's true.
They're like, that blue mist,
we plunge into the blue mist for the climax of the book.
They're one of my favorite things to see when I travel is the blue mist group. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I think they have a stay in Vegas right now. Yeah.
They do have a stay. They've had it for like 20 years.
Thanks for listening to Anidorks. We'll be back soon with lots more to say. Until the Andalites return, or at least until next time. See you soon!